We're going to talk about Lightroom 5 and your new workflow. So I have a few questions for you guys in a second. I just want to tell you a little bit about me. I've been shooting since I was 12 years old. I started with film. I used to use a Pentax, and I still have it, my dad's Pentax, Spotomatic, and a Nikon that he bought because I broke his Canon. I tried to screw the lens on and I bent it all, and he'd never let me touch it again. I now own that. I took it away from him. I got a Canon 20D camera, and I just took really horrible pictures and started to get better and better and better and learn this whole art. I went out and now currently shoot a Canon 5D with L lenses. I shoot mostly landscapes, studio stuff, events. I still shoot a lot of events, bar mitzvahs, birthday parties, and westerns. When I started using Lightroom 1, I totally did it wrong. I get all these question marks up and everything was incorrect and it drove me nuts. So I put all the images in there and I just couldn't get it down. I bought Lightroom 2 because of course it's the program that was broken, not me. Did the same thing. So, and then I got Lightroom 3, same thing. So clearly I learned that it wasn't me, it was user error. So I went out to Photoshop World and just learned Lightroom. I took all Lightroom classes for a week and just nailed it. So another little tidbit about me, I run one of the largest camera clubs with 36 chapters, PAC. If you want more information about that, I can let you know at the end. And I try to teach Lightroom every month out there. So again, we're not going to have any questions. If you have questions about me, you could ask later. So I just have a couple questions for you. How many people have never used Lightroom before? Okay, 3 or 4. Okay, how many people are beginners or would say they're beginners? All right, excellent. Intermediate? Okay, good, good. And pros out there, you love it and you use it every day? Okay, so we're going to start at the beginning here. So we're going to be in that middle section of beginner and intermediate. There's going to be some never used stuff. There'll be some pro, but we're going to be in the meat of it for most of the presentation. With versions, how many people are using 3 still? 2 people. Okay, you definitely should upgrade. There's a lot of benefits to 4 at the very least. You can skip 2. There's no difference in skipping. And 4 or 5, how many people are using 4 or 5? 5? Okay. All right, good. Perfect. A little bit of a disclaimer. The workflow that we're going to go over today is strictly my opinion. All Adobe products have many different ways that you can actually do the same exact thing. So you can do keyboard commands, you can do menus, you can do all different kinds of things. So there may be another way that's great. There's no wrong way of doing it. But Lightroom is built for you guys. It's built for photographers out there, so it's all non-destructive. The problem with that is if you go back to your old workflow after I teach you all this stuff, you're going to break it like I was. So when I teach you this, you don't want to go back into Windows or Mac OS and actually start moving folders around, because everything that I teach you will not work anymore, and you have all kinds of question marks. And then people call me at like 3 a.m. like, Nick, you told me this would work, but it didn't. So you have different modules out there. You have your library module, develop, map, and there's a bunch of other ones down there. You have book, slideshow, print, web, and the biggest thing about workflow is hide stuff that you don't use. So you can easily hide these. These are on the upper right-hand corner of your workflow, and basically you would right-click there, and if you look on the actual screen, they're right up here. You would right-click up there, and a menu pops up that you can basically hide them. So if you're not doing slideshows, just you go right up there, right-click, and hide that by just unclicking it. And now it's out of your way. So if you're not doing books, you're not doing slideshows, you're not doing, the web module is not very good, get rid of it. Just get rid of it because it's in your way. So the new workflow, and this is a shorter workflow, and I'm going to get in the next slide to a longer one. The new workflow is import your images. You have to bring them into Lightroom first. Lightroom doesn't see them. It monitors your folders that you have existing on your hard drive. You're going to sort the images, sort them out, erase the bad ones right away, post-process the images by editing them, and export them back out. So you can't really do anything with them once they're in there. You kind of can work on them, but you need to get them back out to use them. So it's a little bit different thinking than what you've done with Photoshop or other editing programs. So this is the expanded workflow. So I come off of my CF card, go to my computer, and then I import them into Lightroom. Now Lightroom can see the images out there. Immediately, I have Lightroom make a backup for me. So I don't do the backup anymore. It just makes it. All the pictures, good pictures, bad pictures, whatever, it all goes onto an external hard drive behind my computer. Then I sort the images out by culling them. So I'm going to go through that a little bit later of how I sort them out. delete all the bad ones. If they're of my feet, blurry, stuff like that, I just get rid of them. I keyword the good images. If you don't keyword, and we're going to get into that a little bit later also, more in depth, if you don't keyword, you can't find your images. The more you get into keywording, it's going to be like a Google search engine inside your Lightroom. Then I start editing. So you see, I did all this before I actually even edited a picture. And a lot of it's automatic. So I edit and start post-processing. From there, I can actually go to either use a plugin if I want to use one, or I can use Photoshop, and then I rename at the end. You have an option to rename at the beginning, but I choose to rename at the end because of my event photography. So you have a bride. What does she always ask you for? She asks you for all the images. She wants all of them, and you don't want to give them all of them. I only want to give my clients the best images out there. So I want it to say, you know, image 1 through 500. I don't want it to say 1, then number 10, because the bride's going to come back and say, well, what happened to number 2 through 9? Why, those aren't good? So I erase those before I give them to them, and then I rename them all so they all say their name, and then 001, 002, so forth and so on. So then she's happy, I'm happy, I don't give her bad images. From there, you can either go watermark them if they're going on social media, or you can just export right to JPEG. So if you watermark, you would do that down here, and then they go back to my computer. So again, see, it's kind of full circle. You're coming off your card in your computer, and then you have to get them back there so then you can use them on the web. All right, so importing. This whole process of importing the images is getting them in there so that they're viewed. What Lightroom does is makes the same thing you'd see on your desktop of those little thumbnails that go to Microsoft Word and other places out there. So it makes a shortcut to the image. So the images you see when you import aren't your actual real images. And that was the biggest and most difficult thing for me to comprehend was I had all these images. I can see them right there. You know, why can't I actually access? So you access them and you're viewing a rendering of your image. Once you kind of learn that, then you're really starting to understand why you can't move stuff around. If you go and move the folder behind Lightroom's back, like by minimizing this, move the folder, now all of these come up as lost. So you're going to import them in. You have a couple of different things you want to see. So on the left side here, you have where the pictures are coming from. So that's from your CF card or your hard drive. So that whole side is from. So you actually see Macintosh hard drive, or you'll see C drive if you're on a PC, and you pick out the pictures you want, and the folder actually, and it'll start to give you previews here. The middle part here is how. So copy as DNG, copy, move, and add. And we're going to go into those pretty extensively in the next few slides. And then these are where. Where is it going to, and how, and what else is it doing automatically for me? So this is pretty basic for the beginners and newbies never used out there. So the from side. So this is just the left side of the screen. So from, you're going to pick your source drive. If it's your CF card, it automatically populates above the main drive, and it actually opens it and checks everything off for you. So if it's not, you're just going to go find it in there. You're just going to go through until you see your folder, and then click it. How? So this is the middle part. So here you see add. It automatically selects there's a few more seats up here, guys, if you want to grab some seats if you're standing in the back. It selects for you the automatic what you actually want. So add was selected here because the images were already on my desktop or hard drive. So Lightroom saw they were on my hard drive, said, okay, you don't have to move them or you don't have to copy them and make another copy. So it actually selected that, and then it checked them all off again. You see them all checked there. And when I click import on the next screen, it's going to bring these all in as renderings again. Now the other two on there, move and copy, that's if you have to move it. So think of move as cut and paste. So if you want to cut text out of one piece of a letter, put it somewhere else, same thing. So if your pictures are on your hard drive here and you want to move them to an external, you'd use move, and it would take them from here. It would import them at the same time as it moved them, so one process. And then the copy would leave two copies. That's copy paste. So it would take them from here, leave them here as a backup, and put it on your external hard drive. Making sense so far? A little bit? All right, so you saw a DNG on there, so there's copy as DNG. That's an option that I use and a lot of other pros use out there. So what is a DNG? How many people out there know what a DNG is or have used them? Only a few, okay. So DNG is a raw file. It's your digital negative file. It's taking the place of the RAW that comes out of your camera though. It's not compressed. You have all the data in there. And that little sidecar, if you ever looked on your hard drive, you have two files with your original RAW. You have one file and then a data file. So what this does is encapsulates that data file inside there in that sidecar. It's not proprietary to the camera though. Adobe makes this and it's an open source. So if you were a programmer, you could actually make a program for it. So if your camera manufacturer goes out of business or something like that, these aren't going to go bad with time the way, say, Minolta went out of business and you had a program you needed to use to open those files. That's not going to happen with DNG. It does make them a tiny bit smaller too. Not that important with 4 and 8 terabyte hard drives out there, but it does make them a little bit smaller. And I actually converted my 136,000 pictures over with one click. I just kind of took a deep breath and clicked it, and I was like, I hope this works, because I said erase the raw files as well when I clicked that button, and it worked. So, I looked for tons of stuff to see if anyone had problems before I converted to DNG, and I didn't see any nightmares out there. So it seems pretty safe. Okay, this is the right side of the import window now. So the import window, this actually is just extended here, so it's the same menu. So you have file handling. So I always used to tell everyone to render the previews. It's your first option as minimal. With the hard drives being so large now, you're better off actually doing standard. So if you change this minimal to standard, it's going to make your user experience a lot better out there. It's going to pop right up. For the people that raise their hands that they've actually used Lightroom, you'll see it kind of spinning sometimes and be blurry. That'll help make it a little bit better, where it'll pop up within a second or so. Don't import the suspected duplicates. What that does is you're basically, if you've imported a bunch of pictures of ducks and then you left the same card in there and you went out and shot again and you shot a wedding and now you have the ducks and the wedding, you won't be able to import the ducks again and duplicate it. So that, I always leave that checked. I've never unchecked that. I've never seen a reason to bring the same pictures in again. Make a second copy too. So Lightroom makes my backup, I told you. That's how I do it. I click make a second copy, and you have to change that. The problem with that is it actually makes the backup on the same computer here. So if I make a backup on the same computer and this computer fries or gets stolen, then I lose both my backup and my original. So I change it. You just do a little drop down here, and you're able to change that to direct to anywhere. So I bought a 3 terabyte hard drive. You go outside, they're always on sale, 3-4 terabytes. Buy that, put it behind your computer, and just always goes there. When it fills up, I buy another one. They're like 99 to 129. It's really very cheap investment. All right, moving down, file renaming. I don't have anything checked here. File renaming I do at the end. You can do it here if that's in your workflow. If you don't do events, you don't care. I'm a little OCD too, so I want them to all be nice and pretty. But again, for events, I don't do that. You can do that there. Apply during import, I never do that here. This is develop settings is say you want everything to be black and white. So I haven't even seen the images yet, so I don't know if I want them to be black and white. So I leave that unchecked. If you have a workflow that you actually want to create sepia or black and white or some kind of setting, you can actually do that right here on import. So if I shoot a lot of Western stuff, so theoretically I can import all my Western images with my sepia tone shots and they're just done. So I don't even have to edit them. It edits it on import. Metadata. So I do metadata and I check off. There'll be a drop down here. I check my name off. I made that. We're going to go over that in a little while. In Lightroom, there's 3 different places to put keywords. This is the first place that I put them. These are specific to the entire event or shoot. So when I go out there, say we're shooting at the zoo, and we go to the zoo and we shoot at the zoo, I'm going to put in like Phoenix Zoo, animals, but I'm not going to put in zebra or rhino because I didn't shoot all zebras and rhinos. This goes to every single image. And I made that mistake when I first started doing everything in Lightroom. I put rainbows in, and one day at a class I typed rainbow in and tons of random stuff came up. So you don't want a keyword badly because it's going to mess you up later on. So make these very general, make them about the whole shoot, the location, anything that's consistent across everything. All right, so let's see, destination, now that pops up here. So destination, this is where it's going to. So it makes the folder for me. So when I actually go right here and I type into subfolder, I can put New York City photo walk after B&H, and it makes that folder, and that's where the images are going to go. And you can direct the folder down below here. So when I click on here, you can see that one's got the little plus sign next to it right here, and it's kind of grayed out and italicized. So that's where it's going. So you can pick where you want it, My Pictures, My Catalog, wherever you'd like to put it. And then I hit import after that to bring them in. So, a few things. Import is a window. When I first got into this, it looks very much, let me go back, it looks very much like what you see in the rest of Lightroom, but it's actually a window, and if you look at the very bottom of your screens, you can actually see it's a window. So remember, it's a window. I do my renames on export, not import, just for the reason I told you, and I don't do any develop settings. So at that point, then I would click that import button at the bottom and then go cook dinner, especially if you're shooting RAWs like you guys said you were, because it's going to take a while. It has to make a backup. It has to, if you are renaming, it has to rename it. It has to add the keywords. It has to make a second copy on your regular hard drive. It's doing all of this stuff. So go cook dinner and relax, watch TV, and let it do its job. Don't sit there and try to edit them. It'll drive you nuts because you're faster than it is. So you're going to try to work and you're going to catch up to it. So when you do this, again, with workflow, you want to speed up what you're doing. So you don't want to actually have to redo what I just talked about again and again and again and again. So what's kind of hidden down here, and I didn't know this for a long time, is this little bar. It's a little black bar. It's at the very bottom of the screen. I'll kind of show you where it is when I hit import on here. It's at the very, very bottom of the screen, right there. And you can actually set and save your different preferences down here. This is just, I don't edit with this computer. This is just my presentation one, but you can see it says Nick 2014. When I click on that, it changes all my settings to what I want. So you can actually save that. Now that saves you all those steps. So you don't have to click 50 times just in the import window. So that's something you definitely want to consider doing, is making different imports, import presets and saving them. There's lots and lots of presets all over Lightroom, and you want to be able to save them so that you don't have to click these things again. I suggest saving them for different types of jobs, styles, and different things you do. So if you do weddings, make one that's for weddings. If you shoot, JPEGs for something, make a JPEG one. However you do it, set them up so that they're all in there, and you can just pick the one you want, and everything's set in a second, one click, and then your second click is import, and you're ready to go. The only thing I normally have to change when I do that, when I save it, is this. I just change the name of my folder I want it to go to. So if it's not Phoenix Zoo, I change it from test to Phoenix Zoo or whatever it needs to be. All right, the next step is sorting and culling those images. So you have tons of images. We shoot a lot in digital. Again, I came from film. You only had 24 or 36 that you could shoot, and then you were kind of done. With this, we get shoot happy. We shoot thousands of frames, and you need to kind of figure out how to manage these. And you need to get rid of the bad ones and spotlight the great images you take. So I do this in loop mode, which is the keyboard command E. And then I have the thumbnails across the bottom. So if you go to E, it would look like that. You have the thumbnails across the bottom there. And then you have your big actual picture there. I put my 3 fingers on the numbers on my keyboard, 6, 7, and 8. Now those mean nothing to any of us, but what I did was I made color codes, and they're actually standard in there. So your 6, 7, 8, and 9 are already set to these colors. So every time I hit the number 6, it does not delete it like it says up here. It makes it red, which my definition for red is delete. Yellow needs editing, and 8 is green to keep and pick. So you can make those for whatever you want. My blue is actually not uploaded. Actually, it is uploaded again. So it's uploaded their process. So when I put something up on Fine Art America or on my SmugMug site to sell, I make it blue so I know that I don't have to go back and edit that. And if you look on here, when I go to grid, you can see the colors kind of popping up there as you go through them on that screen there. So again, they mean nothing. You can redefine these any way you like, but it helps me get through very quickly the images so that when I go back and look at the screen, I know that the red ones are getting deleted, the green ones are going to either be done or edited very minorly, and the yellow ones are probably saved for later. Needs editing, not sure what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll steal a sky from it, something like that. Gray is also a color, so your gray, that standard gray that it is already, to me that's like, I don't know what. I don't know if it's good, I don't know if it's bad, it may be totally bad. I just skip it. If I don't know, if this is a very quick process. You're not like sitting there like, oh, do I like the bird? He's kind of cute. No, it's like next, next, next color, next. No. So you want to do this quick. If you're sitting there thinking about it, it's probably not a very good picture if you have to think that hard about it. So just make it a red or skip it. So there you see kind of a close-up of it. Now, how many people out there use stars or flags? Okay. You guys used Photoshop probably before, so you got into the star process. Now, if you look at this screen here behind me, and this is very enlarged, your screen probably isn't this big, but look at how small the stars are. The stars are tiny, and the flags are even tinier. They'd be right here, I think. So they're very hard to see when you start looking at 1,000 images, especially the smaller you make these thumbnails. The color, you know right off the bat, that's green. Boom, you see it, it's green, it's ready to go. So for me, we're photographers, we're visual. I just see it right away. Boom, know all the greens, and I have easy ways up here that you can just hit attribute and see all the green ones in 1 second as well. So that's my way. I think it's a little bit better of a system, and it's been working for me. Everyone I teach it kind of is like, oh, I'm not going to do the stars anymore. So at this point, you can erase the reds out there. So the reds are reds. They're garbage, hopefully. I go back to grid mode, so I hit G, and it actually has all the colors you see in the background. They're all, the colors are there. So basically, I go to the edit menu, as you see on your right, my left over here. And you go down to select by color, red. That immediately selects them all. And then you just hit the delete key. That drove me nuts with Lightroom. It's like, how do you delete stuff? There's no delete anywhere in here. So it's just simply the delete key on the keyboard will erase those reds once they're all highlighted. So simple enough. So reds are gone. You have everything else color-coded. There's one thing that pops up on here once your reds, before you hit your reds. So there's this little error pops up. If you do remove, which is blinking out there, it's like click me, it's just blinking remove, it just takes it out of Lightroom. It doesn't delete the images, so they're going to actually stay on your hard drive, but you can't see them anymore, especially if you listen to the workflow and you don't go back to your old ways. So don't ever click remove. Always select delete from disk when you're doing it with your reds, because you're not going to see them again. So your hard drive is going to fill up and you're not going to know why. It's just because Lightroom will be blind to those images. So that's just a little side note. So we have to now start to get these images all green out there. So that's my goal. I don't think I'll ever attain that goal because I take entirely too many pictures and spend too much time teaching other people how to get them all green. But you want to get them all green is the essential kind of where you're trying to get. So it may take a little bit of post-processing, may mean using Photoshop or other plugins. But the first step to that is using different view modes. This view mode you see here is actually called survey mode. So survey mode, you can select 2 or more images. Looks like I have 9 of them up there. And you would hit N. N is your keyboard command again, survey mode. When they're up there, what happens, and you can't see it in here, there's a little X in the corner when you go over them. And what this does, it gives you a matrix. A little trick with these, I hit Shift-Tab, and that makes it so that you get rid of all your sidebars and everything so you can see them larger. This is only a 13-inch. I work on a 27-inch at home, so they can get pretty big. And what I look for in survey mode, as you see with Jen here, is I'm looking at very small movements. So eyes, poses, is it in focus? So I want to see them all up there and get rid of the ones that I don't like and get it down to the 1 or 2 that I really do like. So, I'd start to go through, and again, there's a little X there when you hover over, and I'd click the little X to get rid of them, and then they'd move around and get bigger. And as you go through, they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I would color code the one I love. So say this is the one I ultimately got. I like the pose, it's in focus, I love it. Then I can mark that green, and you'll see it as like a little green square down there once you mark it green. If you don't want to use N, you can use the mouse. This is the little symbol for it, and it lives down here on the bottom. All right, we spoke a little bit about keywording. So it's super essential to keyword your images in Lightroom. If you don't keyword them, they're just called IMG001, and that means nothing to you, it means nothing to Lightroom, and you're not going to be able to go out there and find anything. So the whole program is based on creating a database, and this database is based on keywords. So the more you keyword and keyword correctly, the better you're going to be able to find stuff as you get into the program. And don't wait till you have 136,000 photos like I do, because then you have to work backwards and try to do this stuff later. And that's even more of a nightmare. So it's going to be, you have 3 different places: global, general, and specific. So in your metadata, you can actually put keywords as well. So when you put your metadata, there's a keyword section. In that place, I put mostly stuff about me and my company. The other place I just showed you was the keywords on import. So that's going to be about the entire shoot, globally about the whole shoot. And then we're going to get very specific here. So this is your keywording tab on your right side. So right here. So you have your, let's see. So right here. So you have your keywords right here, and you could actually start to put them in. So you see there's keywords in there already. Those are from the other places. So those are from my metadata that was in there. So you see the stuff about my company name, and then I can add stuff in there about this: rocks, Zen, river, Sedona, Arizona. So you can start to get more specific, because now they're all not about rocks, but the one I'm clicked on it has rocks in it. You know, if I went over to this one, it wouldn't make much sense anymore. There's a couple of different things down here. I really don't find I use these a whole lot: keyword suggestions or keyword sets. It populates stuff that you use a lot. So if you do weddings, you could put stuff in there like weddings, rings, bridegroom. I don't find that it's a useful feature. It's easier for me to use the next tool I'm going to show you guys. So the easiest way I found to do keywords is in my library mode, which is G. There's a spray can, and it's on the bottom right here. It's in a little circle. I could bring that in and show you guys where it is. It looks like that when the spray can is in it. So you basically undock that spray can, and you could select specific keywords and spray them on there. So it's not a spray can like you'd find in Photoshop. It's a spray can that sprays stuff. So basically, I use it mostly for keywording. You can use it for colors too. So if you want to do your colors or stars, you can spray that on there. So I go in there and I start spraying stuff. So you type penguin, spray all the penguins. And then you type, deer, and go spray all the deers, or deer, it's not deers. And then you can just go through and spray these very quickly within a few seconds. What's great about that tool is you can drag it over the images. You don't have to just click them. So you can click them and skip, or you can just say, these are all penguins, and just drag it right across. You just did all those penguins. But you can also put in there penguin, comma, bird, comma, zoo, comma, whatever else you need. And they're instantly on there within a few seconds. What else? When you're done, you can click done, but you have to put that little can back in there. So if you don't put the little can back in, it's going to kind of drive you crazy where your pointer went. So make sure you redock the can when you're done. You can keep going back down. This is where you enter the words, where it says test 1, test 2, test 3. So you go down there, and I'll go back and forth and type in motorcycle, biker gang, and then go back up, spray more. So it's pretty easy, pretty fluid to actually get all of these keywords done within a few minutes. So you get this little spray can, and you have keywords here, and I can click this, and then see, boom, that little thing popped up. It says all those from the Canon party I shot. So all these random keywords are on here now. So, but it put all those on within one click, and if you want to drag it, you basically just drag it, and you'll see how it highlighted it white. So that's how you know if you're going too fast or not. So it put this little white rim around it. See, that one doesn't have that, and that one does. So that's how you know it's working. So you can do this stuff super quick, put on TV, watch a show, and just keyword away. Okay, so I set up a preset for my metadata out there. So when I go out and shoot, everything on import gets this preset. But I had to make this, and then you can make many of them. They're very creatively named, Nick 1, Nick 2. So you can name them, make them. Don't just name it default. Name it something that you know it's yours. And what happens when you want to make this preset, this window pops up. So a lot of these windows, you have to be careful out there. The way you save them isn't always down here where it says done. You save them up here by dropping this little drop down, and you'll see in there it says save as new preset. So for some reason, every time these windows in Lightroom pop up, that's the way I have to save it. So sometimes this will say save, sometimes it'll just say done like that. So be careful, because if you hit done sometimes, it just erases all the work you did. So I fill out these two right here. So it's IPTC copyright, and it checks them as you type. I put in there copyright 2015 and the name of my company, all rights reserved. The drop down I make copyrighted, and then the right usage terms, not for commercial use without written permission. What does that mean? That means that if I go shoot a wedding, the bride can't go and sell it to the Knot magazine because it was a pretty picture, that they have to come back and ask me for permission. It's not that, even though they paid for your service, they don't own that picture. You still own the copyright. So they have to write you and say, hey, the Knot wants my picture for the front of the magazine. Do you want to get paid for it? Can I do it? Do you want the promotion? So you have to look at it and see what it's worth to you. Is it worth the promotion? Is it worth getting paid? Do you hate the picture that she picked and don't want it on there? It's a bad representation of your company, stuff like that. And then I put if you have a copyright URL, most people don't, I just put my website, but if you have copyright rules for your pictures, link to that. The creator is myself. If you have a company, you could do it that way as well. I do not put my address here and stuff because I don't want crazy brides banging on my door at 3 a.m. the next day going, you did my wedding yesterday, where are my images? So, you know, there's a lot of other reasons not to put your address in there. If you have a P.O. box, you can do that, but I leave the address out. I lived in New Jersey, and then I also lived in Arizona doing work out there. So I had a couple of different places that I worked out of, so I don't want to confuse people. I do put a phone number. And I do put my email, because if they find this goes on every image. You have to be careful. So this is going on every image that gets imported and put online. So this is why I don't put the address on there, because it's going out to the world. So when someone goes and looks up the information, I don't want them to find stuff. But I do want them to hire me. So I put the email on there, and I put the phone number on there. And then I do put my website again here, and then give yourself a crafty title. So mine is President and Head Photographer. So whatever your title is. And again, with this, you want to go up here and do, this will drop down and it will say save as new preset, I believe. And then it'll save it, it'll ask you to name it and stuff like that. The only thing I do is, this is an old slide, but you update that every year. So you go into the copyright on New Year's, have a little glass of champagne, change it to 2015, and that's about it. There's a bunch of other stuff on here. The only other thing I could bring up about this is down at the bottom, if you do shoot a lot of models, there's an actual model release section that you can put the name of the model in there so you don't forget 5 years from now, their contact, if they're a minor, their parents' information, so you have all your model release stuff attached to there. The rest of it is either auto-filled in by your camera, so you don't have to worry about it. So really just look through it, and there's just tons of stuff. There's video information, everything. These are really the two important ones. Now, from now on the import screen, if you guys remember, you had a little drop down. So when you hit import on here, you had this drop down. Look, there it is, Nick 2014, and there's my 2015 one. You click it, and now all of that information is on import put into my image on that metadata. So we talked about watermarking and watermarking the images when you're going out to social media. There's a lot of controversy about watermarking. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm just going to tell you how to do it, so if you want to do it, so we won't get into that. So it's in two different places. If you're on a Mac, it's going to be under the Lightroom tab like you see up there. If you're on a PC, for some reason they decided it would be better to put under the Edit tab. I don't know why. So it'll say Edit Watermarks. So it looks the same once you open either one of those. And then this screen will pop up. It's going to give you a little rendering of what it looks like on this. So it's going to give you a sample image and a little rendering, so you can actually start to type in there and see what it looks like. If you have a graphic picture of your logo, you would check graphic, and then you can pick the picture out. So I think it has to be a PNG, transparent PNG, so it'll actually show through. If you don't, you just go through all the text options here. So I'll go through those really quickly. So the opacity is how invisible it is, obviously. So when you have your name up there, you don't want it to have it like bright yellow usually. You want to have it kind of look a little less tacky, and I usually put it a lot smaller. I started making it really yellow and across the middle of the picture. And then I got yelled at a little bit. People were like, I can't see your picture, so I made it a little smaller in yellow. And then I moved it to the whole bottom of the image, all the way across. And now you can see how small it is. And actually, I don't even watermark it too much anymore because I just do it other ways that I'll talk about later about shrinking the image. So I keep it small if I put it on there, and it's mostly for branding for me, so that someone knows that I have taken the picture. All right, a couple other things to speed up your workflow out there is solo mode, and this should be defaulted in there. I have a couple other friends that teach, and they said the same thing. It's kind of funny when I hear them say, because I've been telling everyone this needs to just be in there. So solo mode actually closes stuff that you're not using while you're in the workflow. So on your left side and your right side, you have all these different menu options, catalog, folders, collections, so forth and so on, and on your develop side. What this does is when you open, and especially on a small screen, it's on my 27-inch, I don't have the problem as much because it's pretty large, but on this, when I actually open them, they all stay open. So if I go and develop and edit my basic, and then I open the next one, they all stay open. So it'll be like this long when you're done. What this does is as you open one, it closes the other right behind it. So I'll show you really quick. It should be set up on here. So when you're in Developer Library, you have all of these different modules here. I open Basic, and with solo mode off, as soon as I open Tone Curve, with solo mode on, see it closed Basic, but if I left it off, they would all open up and stay open. So what happens, I get to the bottom now, I have to scroll up like 30 times to get to the top, because they're all open. But I only have one mouse pointer. I can only use one of these at the same time. So what I do is I turn the solo mode on by right-clicking in the gray space, and then you go down to solo mode right here, and you check it off. Now, the downside is not only did they not default put it on, they made it difficult. You have to do it 4 times. You have to do it in your grid mode, so in library, left side, right side. Then you have to go to develop and do it left side, right side. So it definitely speeds stuff up though. If you're using a small screen, stuff like that, it definitely keeps it so you just scroll once now. Because look, I have Tone Curve open. With one scroll, I can be to the top and bottom. I open Basic, same thing, one scroll. I don't have to scroll a bunch of times. And you'll see here, this is on the left side, see same thing down there, solo mode. So a lot of things you see I'm doing here speed up what you're doing if you're keywording manually and sitting there typing penguin, all that stuff. So these things I'm teaching you are to make it so you don't have to click on things a bunch of times. You don't have to type the metadata each time. You don't have to do the keywords. You can literally go in there, have it all saved and ready to go. And this will stick. So this is not something you have to do every single time. You just do it when you do it tomorrow, and it stays there like that. Okay, so we've only just got to develop now, so it's an editing program. We haven't touched on editing yet. We've just gotten stuff in, organized it, keyworded it, got your watermark and everything like that, but you know, how do you start developing stuff? If you're using the RAW converter, that's pretty simple. It's almost identical to the RAW converter that came with your camera, that little CD that came in there. So you have a bunch of different things. And we're going to do a demonstration at the end to show you how everything works. But I'm going to go over them really quickly here. And then we can have questions at the end as we're doing the demonstration part. So you have a top little bar way up on the left side of the screen over here. So this is your crop. One little trick, we were talking to the gentleman in the back before about crop, is you hit the X key and it'll flip it. That drove me nuts. I tried to drag the corner and make it flip. So if you want to go from portrait to horizontal, literally just hit the X key, it'll flip it. So now you're just done in a second. So that was one thing that was difficult for me. You have spot removal up here. You have red eye. How many people are still getting red eye in their pictures? I don't know why there's even an option. I haven't had red eye since I had a film camera, I don't think. No one? Yeah, they need to just take that out, unless you're doing old pictures. You have a couple different filters. You have a new filter that was in 4 and 5 here, radial filter, and you have a graduated filter. And then you have your adjustment brush, little lollipop brush over here. That's one of my favorite tools. That's going to give you the closest thing to layers if you're a Photoshop person, is that tool. And you're able to actually go in there and paint different parts of the picture. And again, you're painting with stuff. You're painting with exposure, sharpness, vibrance, stuff like that, not painting the way you normally think of painting. As you work down, and the way this workflow works is you work down all of these in the order. They're put in pretty much the order that you want to use most of them. If you want a black and white picture, boom, you just click black and white right here, and there's other tools to do that. This is a quick way to get it black and white. As you go down, you have your temperature and your tint. You can, if you shot it in RAW, like most of you said, you have right here, as shot, you can change that right there. So you have all your settings that your camera has. You can use the little dropper tool. Dropper tool, you would go around and actually click in the picture and find your neutral and get your color temperature that way, or you can do the slider. All three do the same thing. So you can actually, either any way you do it, it's going to get you the same result. There is an auto here, and some people I've heard teach that they love this auto. You can try it. I don't have much success with it, but auto will make all of these move and kind of take away all your control of everything, but you can move them after that. I find that I just like tweaking everything. I try to get it right in the camera like I talked to you at the very beginning. If I get it right in the camera, there's not much I have to do here. So exposure. I play with that only if it's really, really under or overexposed. I hardly touch that. I'll just go one stop up or down. Contrast a very little bit, but where I do play is in this second section here. So I'm playing with highlights. It brings all your clouds back in, so you could actually bring the clouds and all that detail in your very bright sections if you go to the left. Shadows. Lightroom 5 is phenomenal with bringing the shadows up. You almost don't even have to shoot HDR anymore. You can actually go in there and just bring all the foreground up, all your dark areas. We went out last time that we were out here and we were shooting the Brooklyn Bridge in the rain, and I made it like just light up underneath the bridge and everything just by playing with those shadows on there. The whites, I'll play with that a little bit, not a lot, and the blacks I will. I'll go usually left. I like it. I like my pictures contrasty, so I'll bring them down a little bit. Clarity is kind of your mid-tone contrast. I tend to find I use that more than my regular contrast these days. When I was doing everything in Photoshop, I was using my contrast quite a bit. I stopped using that. I'll only do that like one or two, and I really hit it on clarity here. The vibrance I will use over saturation. Vibrance works beautifully on my greens and my blues, but saturation, I've touched it maybe 10 times since I've been using Lightroom. So how many people use saturation quite a bit in Photoshop and other things? A few people. It tends to make skin colors kind of go funky, orange and stuff like that. And vibrance will, if you go all the way up, you'll find you like vibrance a lot better if you start playing with that. It pops the sky, pops the grass, different things. Any of them, if you go overboard on any of these, you start to get a little weird effects. So HSL, and I don't have the whole HSL there, it stands for hue, saturation, and luminance. And you'll see them separated there. Now this is where you can start to make the red bike different colors and different hues, make it fuchsia and stuff like that. So this starts to break them down. And you can do it by your hue, your saturation, and luminance. It'll give you the same settings for each one so you can actually play around with them. It's a lot of fun. It really is helpful. You want to pop the green grass out, just select the green channel, bring it up, bring some more light into it, stuff like that. You do have a black and white section there as well. As soon as you click the B&W, it will change the image to black and white, and then you're changing all the different tones the way we used to do it with filters on your film cameras back in the day. Now they have upgraded the lens correction section quite a bit. They added this whole basic profile here. I don't have it on the screen. I could show you guys in a little bit. But if you just check this off and you have any of the lenses that are in their profiles, it will automatically fix the barrel distortion. It's going to fix the, what else? It's fixing barrel distortion. It's fixing your vignetting in there and chromatic aberration. So it's just like that. I have some L lenses, or mostly L lenses, so it doesn't do a whole lot anymore, but my old pictures, when I was shooting with my 7D, I had a 28-135, which was a great lens, but you'd see it move quite a bit. You just see it like, bloop, and it makes it nice and flat, straightens some stuff out. On that same note, under basic, which I don't have up here, you can actually straighten buildings out and stuff now with the new version. It's awesome. So you can actually, fix all that distortion in the different buildings. So they really stepped that up lately, and I'm excited. I hear Lightroom 6 is coming out soon, so can't wait to see what they're putting in there. Lots of new toys. All right, sharpening. So, and this is all one big long thing. I just expanded it for you guys. So this is your view of sharpening. This little tool right here is where you want that view to be. So you can click on the model's eye or your bride's eye, and then you'll get a tight view of it. There's really no formula for this. It's just kind of play around with it. I wish I could just give you a, hey, this is the best way to put it every time, you know, and I do the first two a lot. The other two I don't really play with. So I move the amount up mostly to the middle somewhere. If you go too far, it starts to get crunchy, I feel. So you'll see in this little box when it starts to go a little haywire, and then your radius. So I'll go about 1 or 2 with that. If you start going too much with any tool, it's not desirable. The thing about sharpening and noise reduction is they work against each other. So noise reduction makes your picture blurry to try to make it so it's not noisy. So it's blending those pixels, so it's going to make it blurry. So if you know, rule of thumb is don't take a blurry, unsharp picture out there because or a very high ISO unsharp picture because you can't fix them both. So pick one. Again, luminance. The luminance, you go about halfway up, a little bit more with that on the noise reduction, and it really smooths it out nice. If you go too far, you're going to kind of get that halo angel look effect, and it really takes away from the image. All right, one of the cool features of all the people that sold me on Lightroom 1 and 2 that I didn't use correctly was, you know, you can sync all your images. So I can go to a prom and take thousands of images and edit one. And again, I wasn't using the program correctly, so once I figured out how to use it correctly, I'm like, I have to learn this whole syncing thing. So you can actually sync your edits, and then you could also auto-sync your edits so they go live real time as you're doing them. So if the lighting's the same, you could actually edit one photo. So you can bring one of these photos up here and do all the edits, and then actually right down here you see, it's kind of hard to see, but it says sync, and if you click the little what's called light switch on there, you can change it to auto sync, and as you're editing the other images, they'll all start to auto populate instantly. So I shoot a lot of proms. I had a big company back in New Jersey, shot lots of proms. Same lighting, click next, click next, click next. All the same lighting. The lighting didn't change. I could literally, once I figured all this out, just select the first one, edit it, and then select the rest of them, and they'll just auto-populate, and I was done in minutes. Where when I was doing it in Photoshop, my wrist was not my friend. We were shooting 10 proms a weekend, all done one at a time, editing in Photoshop. So that's why I kind of got into the whole Lightroom thing, because it was driving me nuts. So we'd shoot probably 1,000 images sometimes at some of these proms. And for some reason, I thought it was a great idea to tell the client I'd get them to them by morning. So I was like going home from a prom after working all night. So, and I owned an entertainment company too. So not only did I do the photography, I did the DJs, dancers, dance floor, stuff like that. So we'd have a 8 or 10 hour day, and then I'd go home and edit all night. So it was a lot of fun. This kind of saved my life and my wrist. It still hurts actually, but. So auto sync is really cool, and it's just a matter of switching that little light switch. You see all these little light switches along here? Those turn the effects on and off. And I never realized that this is the only light switch that I found, or the only one I can tell you about right now, that did something besides turn the effect on off. It changed it to auto sync. And my friend Jared Platt told me about that. He's like, oh yeah, look, check this out. I sat through his class and he showed me, and I was like, oh, why did I never clicked it? Because I just figured it turned sync off, and why would I want to turn sync off? So they kind of threw me a little curveball with that. So check that out. It's super powerful. If you guys is anyone shooting portraits, weddings, stuff that you do a lot of the same lighting, anything like that, proms, a couple people. So you can utilize this if you aren't already. It's a great feature, and I love using it.
So what it's doing is copying all your edits from one photo to the whole back.
Correct. Their question was it's moving all your edits and to all the other pictures. Yeah. So you pick the one, and then you can actually select the rest of them, like with the Shift command or Shift or Command. Pick the ones you want, and it'll actually edit them. So what auto sync does is takes a couple steps out. If you just hit sync, if you've ever hit sync, a big box comes up and you have to tell it what you want it to sync. Where auto sync, literally whatever you do, it just actually does it. One of the funny stories I have is with the proms, when I first learned this auto sync or the sync thing, is I actually checked the crop box off, and I cropped all the heads off, and I didn't realize I checked the crop box off. So I'm sitting there, and it was another photographer I had worked with, and I go, oh my God, she cropped all the heads off. Why would she do that? Can't she see on the back of her camera that she didn't leave enough headroom? So I'm looking at all the tall people, I had like no heads, and then I somehow realized that, I think I hit reset eventually and realized that I did it But yes, you have to be careful. When you do regular sync, not auto sync, it does everything you do. So there's all check boxes. There's like 20 check boxes, and you actually have to check the ones you don't want off. So I have to uncheck. You don't want to do crop because if they're taller or shorter, stuff like that. All right, so when I first started speaking, I was telling you that you have to get stuff into Lightroom, and then it makes all these previews. Those aren't really your images. Those are renderings of your images. So now you have to get them back out to use them on Facebook or give them to your client or friends or family. So how do you export them out? So you go into the library mode, you have to select the photos. You don't know how many times I've just hit export and then it's like, I'm done. I'm like, wait, you can't be done. I have 1,000 prom images. I only had that one image selected. So just because you're in the folder doesn't mean that it's going to export the whole folder. You have to select all with Command A or Control A, and it'll select all the images you want. Generally, before I do that, I would actually go so I would hit G, and I would go to Attribute, and I would select the green ones, because there's only one in here, but I'd select the green ones, it gets rid of everything else, and then you could do Command A or Control A. Let's see if I do the yellows, there's 2. So you would want to hone them down to your best of before you did that. And you're going to pick a service, so you can pick any one of these different services that you can download. So you have ones that are defaulted in there, like Facebook and different things, or you can click if someone had Lightroom 3. Anyone else that has Lightroom 4 and 5, you'll see the services on there. So you click Find More Services. Most of them are free. Dropbox is a paid one now, so I just don't use it anymore. But you can find it for SmugMug, Flickr, Facebook, and so forth and so on. If you don't want to go directly to a service, you would just go down to the export here, and you could export them out to your hard drive. So one of these windows, again, that pops up. So the same window pops up, and you can actually go in there, and you can tell it where you want it to go to, hard drive, CD, or email. Now, email seemed great when they added it, but they didn't connect it to anything. So how many people even know like anyone else's phone number, never mind email address? Not many people. You do? I know like my phone number and my parents' phone number, and that's about it. All right, so I usually pick hard drive up here because I go to a bunch of different places. I do a lot of stuff with the photo club, so I go onto Flickr, onto Facebook, and all different other places. So I pick hard drive, and I will actually say desktop, and then I make a folder here. And that folder is garbage after I'm done. So all of my images are in Lightroom in my catalog. So I don't actually need that folder once I'm done uploading or giving it to the client, because if I need it again, I can just go in and re-export them. So it's a little different thought process than what you did with Photoshop, where you had to save your edits. If you threw your Photoshop edits away, you lost all the work that you did. Where in Lightroom, everything here, when I'm done, I just trash it. So that's just going to be, it says Untitled Export now. It'll say Zoo Photos, export them, upload them, and then I get rid of that. Add this to the catalog. Never do that. You don't want to bring these edited pictures back into the catalog now, because it's just going to confuse you. They're going to look identical to your raw files. You're going to have to try to figure out which ones are which. I don't see any reason, or I've never heard anyone teach to actually do that. The file handling. So you have file handling. This is where I rename. So when I go to rename, I simply check that off, and I could rename them there. Now, if you want your files and your client files to be the same, you can do it right before here. But generally, if you're just exporting them out, you can rename them there, whatever it is, Zoo 2015, and then it'll actually give you an example down here of what it's going to look like. File settings. So remember I said I stopped using watermarks because anyone could crop them out, delete them, use the clone tool and stuff like that. So this is where I start to make it so people can't steal stuff. If you put stuff out there, it's going to get stolen eventually. It's sad. There's people out there that are going to steal it, borrow it by mistake, web design, there's all kinds of other things. You want to make it so they can't print it. If a blogger uses it for something and gives you credit, who cares? But if they're going and printing them and selling them behind your back, that's where it becomes a problem. No matter what kind of photography you do, whether it's fine art, hobby, wedding, stuff like that, you don't want anyone printing your images without your permission. So I change this to JPEG, which I think it's defaulted to. I bring the quality down to 50%, and then you could start to limit these different sizes. And this one, I don't have this one open here, but the next one is kind of more important right here. You can change it to 72 DPI or PPI, and then you can resize the long edge Let's see if I can bring that up and show you guys. So image resizing. All right, so right here you can see resize to fit. So you can actually do it by width, dimensions, long edge, short edge, megapixels. You can pick how you want to resize that so that someone else can't steal it. And then I change this to 72 over here on pixels per inch. So that's how you really protect yourself instead of the watermark. Watermark's great for branding, in my opinion. And it's just an opinion, like I said at the beginning. But if you say you can only print this a 5x7 or a 4x6, then when they print it bigger, it's going to be all pixelated. So that's where you really want to start to keep that in mind, that that watermark is, I can crop a watermark out or use this MacFun program and take it out in less than a second. The rest of the stuff, I don't use too much. Metadata, you should have in there already. Watermark, if you are using the watermark for branding, you just check it off. You pick your watermark out that you already made, and then you would just hit export. And it's that simple. It starts to come out. Now, this whole process that we've been going over here usually takes me about less than 5 minutes to actually do. So from import, well, the import takes the longest part. Import and export take your longest part, and again, go cook dinner. Set that up, bring your pictures in, but I spend less than 5 minutes on most of my images. I try to get them right in the camera. I try to get in there, do some quick sliders and adjustments, maybe a crop, and then get them back out to go spend time shooting. You don't want to be stuck behind the computer all the time. You want to be out shooting more. We do photography as a hobby, not editing. Well, my girlfriend does editing as a hobby too, but I can't sit behind a computer for 5 hours working on one image. It's just not me. So, a couple other little tidbits I want to give you. Virtual copies. How many people have played with virtual copies at all? Okay, a few of you guys. All right, so virtual copies and stacking. So you have virtual copies, and you can have them auto stack in here. So this image is one of my cowboy images that I've taken in a project that I do, a self project, and I can make all different virtual copies of this and give the client or whoever it is different looks to their images. So, you know, I did my sepia tone, and then I did a black and white. I did like a cold kind of looking one, and then I have an original one here. So you can actually take these images and make these, and they don't take up any more room on your hard drive, because again, they're all pointing back. They're very small. And then if you look here, so the way you tell if it's a virtual copy is where that arrow is right here. You have this little folded up corner. So you'll see that, and you'll know that it's not the original copy. So if you look here, this one's the original. See, there's no folded corner. And then the rest of these are all virtual copies. You can make as many of these as you want. So you could do hundreds of these if you want. And you can present it to the client, cropped version, non-cropped version, tight crop, black and white, and let them choose what they want. Now, the way you know if they're stacked or not is in the upper left corner. So you'll see like a little number that tells you how many images are in the series, and if it has like ones behind it, which is kind of hard to see there, you'll see it look like a little stack. And then when you open it, it looks like this. So when you hover over, it shows 1 of 1, 2 of 2, you know, all the way through, 4 of 4. So that's the ways you kind of can see, and there's ways to do it all at once, to stack them all at once or unstack them all at once in the menus if you right-click on them.
So how do you do that?
How do you stack them or unstack them?
How do you go through the whole process?
There's nothing to it. You just literally right-click on it and do create virtual copy, and it'll make, if I click that right now, there'll be one right next to it. See, so right here, now there's this one. See, 1 of 2, 2 of 2. And if I want to hide it behind it, just stack it, and now it's behind it. So super, super simple, really easy. And now I can take this one, and I can go into develop, and I can just click, I want that one to be black and white. So within a second, I have a black and white and a color, and I can, you know, show the client see which one they want.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. All right, couple other notes here to know about is things disappear in Lightroom, and it's not Lightroom, it's you. So I thought it was me, and it was. So basically, the T bar is this toolbar, which is along the bottom here. If you hit T, it will hide it. Don't know why. It doesn't give me any more screen real estate, but you see that little toolbar? So if your toolbar goes away, I've had people like call me, again, like 2 in the morning, I can't find my colors and stuff. So if it ever disappears, write that down. T brings that back. The backslash button hides the top one, which again, it's a pointless hide. It doesn't give me any more real estate. Look, the pictures don't even get any bigger. But if your attribute and search bar go away, that's why you hit the backslash by accident. The I button shows you the info. You hit it again, it'll show you more info. So you just can cycle through when you're in here, and I can see the name of the file, the size, the time, the date, and then I can see all the settings. So where this helps me is if I'm shooting a bunch of different apertures. So if I'm shooting 2.8, 5.6, just to kind of see which one's going to be the best, I can see it right up on there, pretty large. Shows I shot at 4.0. So I probably shot these rocks at a bunch of different f-stops to see depth of field wise what I like the best. And so because I'm laying in the river here and I'm trying to get this shot up in Sedona, and I don't have time to sit there and look at it on the screen and everything. I just took it, at 2.8, at 4.0, all the way through, so then I can really go home and see which one I like. So I would hit info, bring that up. It shows me everything. It shows me a shot at 50 millimeter, 1/200th, f4, ISO, 100, so forth and so on. What lens, everything. Using other programs. All right, so finding lost folders. So how many people have gotten question marks at some point? And there's more out there, you're just not raising your hands. So those drove me nuts. So finding lost files or folders. So on the left side, you'll see question marks at some point of use. I just got it the other day. When I was doing the presentation, my desktop's a mess. I threw a bunch of stuff on it, so I did like a desktop cleanup, and I called the folder desktop cleanup. Dumped all the images and all the other stuff that was collecting there on my actual folder, and lo and behold, I don't know where this Bay Photo 2014 party went to. I got this question mark here. So you're going to get it eventually, whether you're experienced or not. It just happens. So the way you find folders, and I still can't find this folder, so I'm not going to be able to prove it to you, but you right-click and you go find missing folder. But here's the catch. You have to find it. Lightroom doesn't know where you moved it to. You moved it, you put it somewhere. It has no idea. It's just like, you moved the folder, dude, it's not my problem. So you have to go out and tell it where it is. So when you click on it, it just gives you a window that says, find these folders. And you just have to go through here and try to find it. So here's the thing. Don't move any folders, and we'll be good. If you start getting OCD at like 3 a.m., like, okay, I gotta put this here and put that there, and it's gonna mess your whole Lightroom up. So the simple way to do this is right here. I'm actually, here's the B&H one. If I want to put this on downloads in Lightroom, I just drag it, and now the B&H one is in downloads. It was just as easy, but you didn't have to go like this, minimize Lightroom, and go down and start to move your folders around at the level of iOS or your Windows. So try not to cheat. Don't cheat out there. Don't move stuff, and it'll never happen. It only happens because you move something. Okay, a couple other programs that you probably are going to touch on. If you're using Creative Cloud, you're probably going to use Photoshop at some point. And I use MacFun as one of my plugins. I was using someone else, but Google bought them, and there's no development anymore on it that I've seen. So I've moved to MacFun if you have a Mac. It's really easy to go in and out of programs. So when you're in here working, you literally, either on a thumbnail, on the picture, anywhere, you just go to Edit In, and everything's listed right here. So you can go Edit In CC, Photoshop CC. I can pick all my different plugins. I can bring them all up, and it'll open it right through Lightroom. You don't want to break this either. If you break this format and go out of here, then the picture isn't going to be the same edited picture in Lightroom that you see. But if you open it, and it takes a long time to open Photoshop, but if I wanted to open this in Photoshop right now, I would click this, a menu would pop up, and it would say, do you want to open this with your Lightroom adjustments or not? You click yes, and it keeps all your Lightroom adjustments. It opens up a new TIFF file in there for me, and now I can edit it. And when I come back, now I don't have a virtual copy. I have a secondary real copy in there. So I'll have two real copies. I'll have my original RAW and then my TIFF file. That's the only time you're really going to see a real copy pop up in here. And I do that when I need to do layers or something else that's above the scope of Lightroom. You have to go in there that 5% of the time. So you want to try to stay in Lightroom as much as you can, but there are those occasions that you have to pop out. There's my contact info if you guys have further questions, and then we're going to do a couple demos here. I think we have some time. All right, so let's work on a couple different images here and see how we can actually play around with some of these images. So I specifically picked images that weren't that visually appealing out of the camera. I generally try to nail the images so that I don't have to do as much as we're going to do to it. But what struck me about this image is that the foreground was very dark, kind of almost silhouetted out. The sky was kind of it was all right. It wasn't amazing. So I'm going to hit D, brings me right into develop. And then I could do a quick black and white if I want. Go back to color. It's all non-destructive, so whatever I do here, I can hit reset when we're done. I'm not too worried about it. So with my temperature, I can either go cooler, make it a little bit warmer. Exposure, I'm not going to play with right now. I'm going to go up a little bit on contrast. Highlights, I'm going to go down, bring some of that cloud detail back in. That one's one of the sliders you can go very far with. Like I put that all the way down, and you can see how it brought some of the detail back in there. Shadows, I can start to go up and bring the detail that wasn't there at all back up. And it looks a little brighter on my screen, so I'm going to have to go further for you guys. Whites you can bring down a little bit, because since the sky was pretty bright. And then I like to bring the blacks in a little bit. Clarity, I usually go up. And then here's the vibrance one. Remember I said it works. So I don't really ever touch saturation. We can do it a little bit, and you'll see like how kind of wacky it looks now. It looks like a bomb went off or something. So a couple little notes on this. If you double click any of these, the words, it zeroes it back out for you. So if you double click the word, it brings me back to center there. All right, so your different colors, HSL. So say I want to see, let's see if we have some greens in there. Not really, probably more yellows. So see, I could take the yellow out. I could bring the yellow in. Blues, see, I'm just working just on the blue channel on that. So I could either take it out, I could bring it in. Again, you don't want to go too far with these. It kind of goes crunchy, as I like to call it. Split toning, I haven't found a great use for. So I'll look at this. It was shot at 400, so I could do a little noise reduction on it. It doesn't really need it. Lens correction, so we talked about that. So on profile, let's see what it does. Not much. See, with the L lenses, it takes a little vignetting out, and that's about it. There's really no distortion in there. So depending on what lenses you have is how much. I was a 24 to 70 version 2 on that. If I want to bring it back in, you could bring it in with highlight on your post crop. So it did a little bit to it, not great. I don't love it. So if I don't love it, you just reset and it brings you back to 0. All right, moving on to removing people. So we didn't really talk too much about removing people. So the tool in here is great. What I found is they've made it better in 5. It was kind of non-existent. It was called spot removal, and it only gave you a little circle, and it was great for dust in Lightroom 4. In Lightroom 5, it seems to be a lot better, but big objects, it doesn't really work great with. So if you start to get where you have to really try to erase something huge, it doesn't do a great job with that. So I found that I tend to use Snap Heal Pro, which is for Mac Fun. It's only for Mac users, but really the program goes into getting rid of bigger objects, and it gives you more of a space to kind of spread out, and it gives you more options. So if I want to get rid of the girl here, who isn't a model, she just was in my shot, I can just literally go like that and hit erase. And if it doesn't work, I could change the algorithm, which I can't do on Lightroom. So you see how precise I was with that selection. Just, literally, you just pick it, and if it doesn't work, and this is a laptop again, it works a lot quicker on my bigger computer. And let's see what it did with her. All right, so it didn't do a great job on that algorithm. It basically is a big spot there. So now you can go click local, and there's another one. So there's all these different options that you can actually take, and I probably should have made the brush a little bit smaller because I took out like way too much around her. It gives you little hints, like 2 billion people still cannot read. So now look, just by hitting local, it fixed it. So you have all these different options. You have precision, high, highest, dynamic, global. You have different size brushes. None of this which I really have in Lightroom. So this is one of the times I would jump out into MacFun to actually do something like that. And there's a bunch of other things, but you know, she's in the way. There was actually people in here too, which I did erase inside Lightroom, but it's MacFun, so it's a plugin. They sell it out there. We're actually giving away 3 copies of it later on today when we're done. So it's called Snap Heel Pro, and it's actually in this giveaway. All right, moving on. So cropping. Someone was talking about cropping before. So I took the picture. I was laying in the river, so I have an excuse. So it's crooked. So simple crop. And you're basically done. So 2 seconds. You know, again, these things I do, I try to get it as right in the camera. If there's something I have to do, I just do it, and I'm on to the next thing and moving down that list. And the Snap Heel Pro, I was going to show it. You guys kind of saw what it did in there, but Snap Heel Pro I was going to use to take this out here. This has always bothered me. I love this shot here. It's great, but there's something back here, and it's like, I don't know if it's a brick or what it is in there, but it's always kind of drove me nuts, and I can show you that if we have time with the Snap Heel Pro in a little bit again. All right, moving on. So here's another one. This one I actually unedited to show you guys what I did. So it's a street shot. I shot it in Tucson. The guy was there. It was a great moment. Terrible lighting. White balance is all off. Tons of people in the background. You can't really prevent that. You try to get it as right as you can in the camera, but something like this, you can't always get it right. There's guys with like glow necklaces here, it looks like. So it's a big mess, but I actually have it as one of my artistic prints that I sell. So I started playing around with it, bring the exposure down a little bit. I like it as a more contrasty picture. Could bring the highlights down for those bright lights. Bring the shadows down, kind of starting to get rid of some of the people there. We can get it a little less distracting. I don't love this light above his head here. It's kind of distracting. So I'm going to bring it into a tighter crop. And I'm okay with cutting his hat off like that. You know there's a hat above there, so I'm not super worried about it. If I want to see more of his shoulder, I can bring the blacks up, or I can bring them down to make it a little more moody. Clarity, because it's kind of a moody picture anyway. So if I go too far clarity, see what it's doing to the back? It's bringing it brighter now. So I don't want to actually play with that too much. Now I can go in here and play all day with all these different colors with the black and white mix and actually get rid of stuff. See how it's just orange? Just got rid of all the orange stuff in the back pretty easily. And then I could bring the red up to bring just his handkerchief up there. Now this is where the spot removal comes in if you don't need to go to Snap Heel. So that spot there is kind of annoying. So I can go in here and just get rid of just that spot. And maybe this one. And maybe this one. So for little stuff like that, it works great. Ooh, I missed it. Size. Need a bigger brush. Got rid of most of it. We're doing this quick. So, you know, you can see how that horrible picture just on the street with really bad white balance, you could just bring it back. I could play with the lens correction. It's going to bring it brighter in the back because of the vignetting. So I'm not going to do that on this. It's not super important. I could bring a little bit of some vignetting back in, and you know, you have a usable or semi-usable picture for spending about 2 minutes on it. So we are out of time, and I thank you guys for coming.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.